Good evening. We have been set with our semi-finalist. We are all set. We have our semi-finalists for this World Cup. The quarterfinals have finally concluded. We have our four semi-finalists. The FIFA rankings start to take shape as we get to the end of this World Cup. We will see the same. Will we? Will we though? Will we see the same finalists as Qatar 2022? Or will we see old faces or new faces? But some of these teams that have been set home from the quarterfinals is Morocco, who had a great tournament. This time they were only able to get to the quarterfinals. Belgium, who many say and many keep pointing out their golden era. And Norway, who was the dark horse of this World Cup 2026. And lastly, Switzerland, who play against Argentina, has been sent home. But these quarterfinals have concluded, and we have our four semi-finalists. We're gonna go as usual. We're gonna summarize each team, how each team has brought certain topics due to the game, players that make difference, and what this quarterfinal has revealed in this tournament. And for those that don't know, esto es pase ambidiestro, ambidextrous pass, fútbol honestamente, soccer, football honestly. But we're going to start, as always, with the first game that took place. And that for us is France against Morocco, a game where France won 2-0. France advanced to the semifinals after defeating Morocco 2-0. Leaning on their tournament experience to stifle the African side's defense resilience. Les Blues, they were led by Kylian Mbappe, who has a lead of 8 goals in this World Cup 2026. Les Blues managed to outclass their opponent in a highly anticipated rematch of the 2022 World Cup semifinal. Morocco, captained by Hakimi, bowed out after another impressive tournament run, but they could not repeat their historic 2022 top 4 breakthrough. For France, we have experience that breeds cynical efficiency, the Mbappe factor. Kylian Mbappe continues on his relentless march towards soccer, football immortality. At just 27 years old, his performance kept him tightly in the running for a second World Cup trophy and another potential Golden Boot award. Mbappe is our modern Pelé. And this kid, this guy, this gentleman is writing his own story. His talent, never a doubt. His efficiency, his difference, never a doubt. Club level, can he contribute more than what he has contributed to his Real Madrid club? But in the international level, this guy is a modern Pelé, writing his own history, breaking the records, and not only that, putting new records too. But the tournament for France, the know-how to is the part of like how, unlike their more chaotic group stage outings, this French team, Les Blues, demonstrated elite game management against Morocco, scoring early and completely just choking out the space for an equalizer for Morocco to even gain some type of momentum or some type of energy, a burst of energy to pick up and try to do something. But this French team just knows how. They just know how to deal with certain things within the game and how to manage them. But Kylian Mbappe, let's get more into a Kylian Mbappe. A Kylian Mbappe that brings the Golden Boot dogfight in a direct erasure of the 2022 Ghost. Mbappe has been stunning. He has been having a dripping right foot against Morocco, and he opened up a highly restrictive match, keeping him tied with Messi at 8 goals for the tournament. In France, his ruthlessness is being praised as the perfect psychological weapon, but it has sparked intense discussion regarding how heavily France relies on his individual brilliance to break down low blocking defensive structures. But one thing we can say about Mbappe is he will create an opportunity. The window of opportunity doesn't have to be that big. As we saw France against Morocco, as we saw in that game, Mbappe only needs a small window of opportunity. The rest, he will make it work. Everybody sees when he does the fake, he's about to shoot. Moroccan defender goes from having his legs spread to closing his legs. As soon as that happens, Mbappe's reaction was on point, and Mbappe does what he does best and is making a shot in a small window of opportunity that Bono had no type of hope of getting to. This Mbappe is a decisive, very, very decisive player. And yes, the game can be tight, the game can be closed, but when the ball runs through his feet, the game can get open and he can be the one to decide it. But not only that, France has options. This French team has options. So much quality in the field, on the bench. There's abundance of answers for this French team. But Mbappe at the moment is the one who is changing and deciding matches for France. But Morocco brings the talking point of a historic double down. Back-to-back giants. Despite the 2-0 loss, the Atlas Lions just solidified their status as a global powerhouse by becoming the first African nation in history to reach consecutive World Cup quarterfinals. And yes, there is also the injury heartbreak. Navigating the pitch without crucial attacking pieces like Ismail Salibari, who suffered a late finish setback, and this ultimately just blunted Morocco's attack. Could have been a player that could have helped more, add more threat. He was a player who was scoring in the group stage for this Morocco, and sadly he gets hurt. And that is a heartbreak because it's a player, again, that could have made difference or at least feel more threat to this Morocco's front line. But Morocco has imprinted themselves in the world stage as a powerhouse and the only African nations to go consecutive quarterfinals in World Cups. Morocco has an amazing base to work on, experience to analyze, and it feels like this nation, Morocco, will be going and stepping in the World Cup stage every time they do have the chance to. They, no doubt, they are not a surprise anymore. They are going to compete top 10 and they are going to challenge. But now, 2 times quarterfinals, there's more than enough experience to know what is expected of them and what things they have to get right to be able to push all the way through at least to another semifinal. And why not a final? Morocco has a lot to look at and a lot to work with for next World Cup. But then we move on to a Spain-Belgium, a Spain that won 2-1. Spain secured their first semifinal berth since 2010 by holding off Belgium's golden generation with a 2-1 victory. Anchored by a stellar new generation featuring Lamine Yamal, Rodri, Spain, they remain a tournament's defensively stingiest team, having conceded very few goals. If anything, just 1 or 2 goals. If anything, just 1 goal. But this Spanish team has been in 5 matches and they have only conceded few goals. But this Belgium relied heavily on veterans like Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku. And in this game specifically, De Bruyne didn't seem like he was already burnt out by the end of the second half. By the end, in the last 20-30 minutes, De Bruyne just looked burnt out. Romelu Lukaku came from the bench, and he knew that this World Cup, that was going to be his role to give some type of aggressiveness and to threat on whoever the opponent was, and at the same time put some sense of scaredness in them when he was stepped into the pitch. But the pursuit of the maiden World Cup title fell short despite a hard-fought performance. And another thing that comes into this is, yes, Belgium does lose. Belgium does lose because of the mistake Lemens makes. But in his defense, his error is the definition of goalkeeper who has not received a single minute. Say that again. Is the definition of a cold goalkeeper who has not received a single minute in the World Cup. However, some people expect him to be at the level of a starting goalkeeper. Did not receive a single minute since the group stage, all the way to the quarterfinals. And out of nowhere, Courtois gets hurt. Very, very unfortunate. Hopefully, Courtois is good to at least start the season with his club, Real Madrid. But you cannot expect a goalkeeper that have not received a single minute, and then in a very, very important game of high pressure, you are expected to perform at the same level as a starting goalkeeper or better. There's just no reality for that. You cannot expect that. You cannot expect that. But Lemons, you have many years ahead, many World Cups, and as long as you keep showing and proving your worth of a spot, your turn will come in this Belgium team. It's just how things work. And he had a decent season with Man United, but a season where he proved that he can be trusted. One of the reasons why Manchester United were able to climb to the top 3 and again put themselves in European football and again get themselves to compete for the Premier League. So Lemons has been part of that progress, something that shows that he can definitely help Belgium. But Spain, they are the unbreakable defensive foundations. They have an unrivaled clean sheet legacy. Spain's primary talking point centers on historically rigid backline. Goalkeeper Unai Simon stretched his record-breaking run to over 600 consecutive World Cup minutes without conceding a goal before finally giving up a late consolation prize to Belgium. But at the same time, this Spain has the youth engine, driven by the creative fearlessness of Lamine Yamal, who has been enjoying the moment in the World Cup, and anchored by Rodri. Spain effectively suffocated Belgium's star-studded midfield through a metronomic possession. Belgium, on the other hand, they come to the end of a golden era. And this brings a very good topic on. This question was asked to Courtois in the sense of, you guys did not achieve anything in your golden era. All he said was, "We are 12 million Belgians and we came here to represent, and look how far we have gotten." And this is the part of football where when a generation is born and there's bright talent, things like this do come up, and sometimes nations will not achieve the desired tournament title that they are looking for. But Courtois has had a impeccable career. He is club level one of the best goalkeepers in history. And sometimes it takes more than 3, 4, 5 players to achieve something for a change. But this Belgium gets to a end of an era of a certain generation that was surrounded of many stars, and the final curtain has dropped for veterans like Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, Courtois. This exit almost certainly marks the final World Cup chapter for Belgium's famous golden generation. And at the same time, this Belgium team has some tactical regrets. The head coach just faced immediate scrutiny for these rotation choices, particularly regarding how late De Bruyne and Lukaku were deployed to chase the game against Spain's suffocating press. Many always have questions when managers make certain decisions. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong, but managers have to be sure of the decisions they make, and they have to be made to either prove something right or prove something wrong. But Belgium has gotten to the end of their golden era. Then we move on to an England against Norway. What a game. And England against a Norway, and England that wins 2-1 in extra time. And England that outlasted a resilient Norway side 2-1 after extra time. Thanks to the decisive brace from midfielder. Who else? Hey Jude. Hey Jude. The Three Lions had to overcome playing portions of their previous knockout matches short-handed, but Captain Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham, who both sit on 6 goals for the tournament, guided them through. Norway's historic first ever quarterfinal run ended despite the stellar tournament from a star striker, Erling Haaland, who exited the competition firmly in the Golden Boot race with 7 goals. Haaland is a huge factor of why this Norwegian team was able to get all the way to the quarterfinals. But we have in England that brings a topic of outlasting chaos under Tuchel. Bellingham's golden ambitions. Jude Bellingham has officially assumed the mantle of England's talisman. His clutch extra time brace not only saved England, but put him neck to neck with Harry Kane in the team's internal scoring race. And that brings the topic of Jude Bellingham being one of the greatest English footballers. All I can tell you is this: whether he's in that topic of conversation or not, this Jude Bellingham is one of a generation and one of those players that will definitely leave a mark in the history of English football. English football, where you have so many stars and criticism that follows. But this guy, his essence, his aura is felt when he steps in the field, with the difference in the fight that he puts, and does not stop till the whistle gets to its last moment. The guy does not stop, and there's players like that out there that make a huge difference, and he is one of them that we are witnessing in this era. But England is also overcoming the self-inflicted wounds. Thomas Tuchel's side has developed a bizarre habit of making life difficult for themselves. What does this mean? In this game, there was an English midfield that was very, very disorganized. But the grit, the belief, the dogfight in them pushed them all the way to the end. Having played extended periods of their knockout rundown, amen due to records, their resilience is elite, but tactically unsustainable. Again, this team has developed a bizarre habit of making life difficult for themselves. They came from playing a game with a man down to now playing 120 minutes. They are resilient. This English team is resilient. You can see. And one of those players that transmits that and breathes that is Jude Bellingham. But tactically, they are not doing great. And Tuchel, that's what he argues. Yes, great that they have grit. Great that they have resilience. But we have to get the tactical part down. You might have the fight in you. You might have the fight in you. But sometimes you have to take down the strategies and the development of your strategy to be able to face the opponent calmly. But this time, England saw themselves fighting till the end, and they do get the results they needed so much. They do get the results that they needed. Then this comes the Jude Bellingham conversation. The second striker evolution and talisman status. While traditionally a center midfielder, like Bellingham operates essentially as a second striker against Norway, leading England with astonishing 55 sprints per match. His clutch extra time brace completely rescued a short-handed England side. Back home, the entire tactical debate revolves around whether management Thomas Tuchel should start relying on late-game Bellingham magic and completely restructure the starting lineup to maximize his relentless attacking runs. Again, this brings the entire tactical debate on whether Tuchel should stop relying on late-game Bellingham magic and just completely restructure the starting lineup to maximize his relentless attacking runs. It's a better way to set up the structure of the team around his attacking runs in general, because you know he will, but you don't have to make it too evident that you are going to restructure your tactical approach around one player. Jude is the difference. Jude makes the difference. Jude is the difference, and Jude makes the difference. Many talking points, many critics came along before this World Cup. The guy was getting hammered. Critics were all over him. But apart from the pressure, the talking points, and everything else that surrounds football, the guy just keeps playing. He just keeps enjoying. He just keeps doing himself. He just keeps showing who he is and his personality on the field. The guy does not stop. He keeps on going, pushing through. And that's a player anybody would like to have in their club. Anybody would like to have in their nation to represent, to be a leader. This Jude will definitely be one of the important leaders of this English team. And that will bring more talking points and more critics. But Norway, on the other hand, the ascent of the Nordic giants. Haaland proves the hype. He proves the hype. Entering their first ever World Cup quarterfinal, Norway proves they belong on the big stage, bad matching England's stride for stride. Erling Haaland leaves North America with 7 goals, cementing his reputation as arguably the most devastating pure striker in this earth. And at the same time, this Norway has a foundation for the future. While the extra time defeat was bitter, breaking through a ceiling by eliminating Brazil in the round of 16 means this young Norwegian core is no longer just a qualification dark horse. They can compete. They competed against strong nations that represent what it is to be in the World Cup. And what does the World Cup mean in general? Norway has something to work with, and a Norway that did not give that tactical sense. But as the tournament, the World Cup progressed, this Norway showed us different sides of their football and that they can definitely compete stride for stride against big ones, and that this experience is helping them build a more steady base for the future generations of their football. This Norway is moving forward strong, and now they can go and compete at the European level, gain more experience, get themselves farther in the tournament to not only gain the experience, but set a bar of expectation for the current players and the upcoming players for this Norway. But then we go to the last game of this World Cup, Argentina against Switzerland, and Argentina that wins 3-1 on extra time into the 120 minutes. Defending champions Argentina, they overcame in a strict Swiss defensive setup to win 3-1 in extra time. Lionel Messi, he broke the World Cup's uptime tournament assist record, 10, to set up Alexis McAllister, who has been scoring nice headers. A player that is not the tallest player in the field, not the smallest player in the field, but every time he scores a header is a very, very meaningful goal, and it looks impeccable. They look like they always come from the training ground. His goals scored from the corners always look like they come from the training ground. But before the stunning extra time goals from Julian Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez sealed the win, Switzerland played violently, equalizing via Ndoye in the 67th minute. But in the 72nd minute, red card to Ombolo left them a man down and unable to sustain Argentina's late slaughter. The question for Ombolo is, what made you do that? For all of those that watch this game, yes, he simulates. Sadly, the player simulates. Sadly, this is something he has to deal with. But you cannot do such thing against opponents like Argentina, players that have been in that situation many times, players that have the experience from being in these big clubs. They have the experience. And bluntly, Embolo looked very, very childish on that. And this only harmed Switzerland, left them wounded, a man down, game tied, taking into overtime, pushing and finding that physical grit. It was very hard for this Switzerland team, who to that point have given Argentina a leveled fight, and it looked like anyone could have taken it, but Embolo left his nation with a man down, and Switzerland saw themselves with a big problem. You do not want to be a man down against a nation like Argentina. You do not want to be in that situation. But Argentina brings the talking point of Messi's last dance and stays on choreography. Argentina, more history for the king. Lionel Messi added another legendary feather to his cap, breaking the all-time World Cup tournament assist record with his exquisite ball for Alexis McAllister. He remains on track to potentially become the first captain ever to lift consecutive World Cups. Argentina clutch striker depth comes into topic when the Swiss defense was clogged on that final third. Argentina just leaned heavily on their elite depth with Julian Alvarez and Lautaro, just both of them coming alive into the extra time to put the game to bed. Simple as that for Argentina. On the other hand, Switzerland, their bravery undone by the discipline. Switzerland, the Swiss wall just cracked. Switzerland execution of a low defensive block was nearly flawless for 90 minutes, nearly flawless, frustrating a reigning world champions and striking back brilliantly through Ndoye. But what was the turning point for Switzerland? The entire match, again, Switzerland's tournament pivoted on Embolo's 72nd minute yellow card that became a red. Going down to 10 men against Argentina's side, hungry for space, completely deflated their defensive shape ahead of extra time. Very unwanted scenes, very sad scenes, very harsh decision from the player, because this is football and some things may be biased, is understandable, but in no moment you should put yourself in a situation where you can leave your team of 11 players in a football match with a man down against such powerhouse like Argentina. You just cannot do such thing. But those are all the matches for this quarterfinal. We have France and Spain who move on. We have England and Argentina who move on. But some of the things that this quarterfinal has revealed is the triumph of institutional experience over Cinderellas. While the tournament underdogs like Morocco, Switzerland, and historic Norway side push boundaries, the final four consisted strictly of blue-blooded heavyweights France, Spain, England, and Argentina, who ruthlessly weaponized their veteran savvy and tournament know-how when hung in balance. These are heavyweights that have experience. They have been here, whether it is at the international level or at the continental level. These heavyweights have the experience. They understand the pressure. They understand what's needed from them to reach the next stage. Institutional experience over Cinderella's took over in this quarterfinals, and at the same time, the cruel necessity of a structural discipline is another talking point of this quarterfinal. In the round defined by razor-thin margins, tactical slips and mental lapses proved fatal, exemplified by Embolo's costly red card that instantly shattered Switzerland's brilliant defensive resistance against Argentina. The cruel necessity of structural discipline was a thing in this quarterfinal, and the match Argentina against Switzerland showed why players have to be disciplined. Discipline. It's understandable who you're playing against, but experience, discipline will always push you far. And lastly, this quarterfinals revealed the elite depth beats star reliance. While individual talismanic figures like Jude Bellingham and Lionel Messi produce magical moments to rescue their teams, it was the structural depth, such as Argentina's extra time bench options or Spain's relentless midfield possession machine, that ultimately outlasts the opponents over a grueling 120 minutes. The triumph of institutional experience over Cinderellas. those teams that have the veterans, the know-how, to the experience, the cruel necessity of a structural discipline. We saw this was a thing in the Switzerland against Argentina, Argentina against Switzerland. This specific game show that there has to be a structural discipline, and the elite depth beats the star reliance, as we saw how Argentina managed their extra time bench options and how Spain relentless midfield possession machine were the ones that outlasted opponents over the 120 minutes. But then for these finalists, for this semi-finalist, we have the first game, France against Spain. What to expect from this? This is going to be a European blockbuster. Expect extremely disciplined defensive chess match against both powerhouses. They have reached the semi-finals unbeaten while conceding a mere single goal across their respective knockout journeys. Both of these heavyweights, Spain and France. And this is the European Nations League semi-finalists of 2025. Although on the world stage, we are going to have the European Nations League semi-finalist of 2025 on the world stage with much more demand for both nations. They did it at their continental level. Now they have to do it at the world stage where everybody is watching. Their people, their nation have all the pride on them to be able to get this World Cup. And then the other match we have is England against Argentina. Heavyweights. Having both survived grueling 120-minute extra time battles in the quarterfinals, these teams will likely test each other's physical limits and squad depth early. This fixture is considered one of the most hostile, famous intercontinental rivalries in football history. When these two step onto the pitch, they bring the heavy psychological ghost of their past tournament encounters. In 1966, 1986, 1998, and 2002. Each of those years has a meaningful trajectory for England's and Argentina's footballing history. Each of those years has a specific detail in history in a match that happened that bring those psychological ghosts of the past. We have two great matches, four great heavyweights. Let the entertainment commence. This game is the most beautiful game. We are reaching the final stage of this World Cup that has given us so many memories, so much action, so many new surprises, new heavyweights, dark horse that not only become the dark horse by the track they are leaving, but they become part of those dark horse that were able to make history and keep making history. This is the beautiful game. This is the World Cup. And for those that don't know, esto es pase ambidiestro, ambidextrous pass, fútbol honestamente, soccer, football. Honestly, if you don't want to miss anything with the World Cup and the matches, please like and subscribe. Thank you all. Have a great day.